So let's talk about blood clotting. Now, blood clotting can happen on the skin. So if I get a scab, last thing I want to do is bleed to death. It could also happen internally. So if your blood vessels are damaged inside or something like that is going on, you could clot it within, and that will prevent excessive bleeding within. Now, the other thing about clotting on the outside is around the air, there is pathogens. There are viruses, fungi, protists, bacteria that you just do not want to get into your open wound. Your skin is a barrier to these pathogens, so you want to protect yourself. So clotting is that added scab, which will protect yourself from all of these infections. So platelets are from bigger cells. You don't need to know the name of the bigger cell, but it's called a megakaryocyte. And these are cells that are found in the bone marrow, so within your bones. And these cells are broken down into smaller cells called platelets. Now, platelets are not normal type of cells. They do not have a nucleus because they don't need a control center. And I'm going to draw these little platelets like over here. Now, if I had a blood vessel, and let's say there's an opening, right over here, there's an opening, and I want to prevent that opening, what's going to happen is the platelets are going to accumulate over here. And I'm going to explain how they accumulate. But the platelets are normally traveling through your blood. But when there's an open wound, they're going to go towards that wound and seal it up. Now, what actually happens is there's platelets in your blood. And when there is a wound, they release certain types of chemicals. So I'm going to draw these platelets over here that are releasing chemicals into the bloodstream. And what these chemicals are going to do is going to be a signal that, hey, there's an open wound over here. We're going to have to seal up this open wound. In your blood, there is something else that is floating about. And what we call this is soluble fibrogen proteins. So they have dissolved in your blood. And what ends up happening is they turn into, I'm drawing these blue lines over here. So the soluble fibrogen proteins turn into insoluble. So they don't actually dissolve. So they turn it into an insoluble fibrogen strands, which help seal it up with the activated platelet. So there's platelets in the clot, there's platelets, there's these strands, and there's even red blood cells that end up over here that get trapped. So it's kind of like a big mess filled with platelets, filled with strands, filled with red blood cells that all get trapped at the actual wound. And all of this is called a blood clot. So a blood clot is basically the strands, the red blood cells, the platelets that all come together to kind of form this kind of plaster. And this prevents excessive blood loss because you don't want to bleed to death, prevents pathogens from getting in. But sometimes what can happen is internally you can have blood clots, which can be dangerous if they're not needed. For free live lessons and free worksheets, please click the link below. Each lesson comes with a worksheet to do, thousands of exam questions split by topics with video help, math, sciences, and many other subjects.